The NBA draft may be almost 2 months away, but one question I keep seeing and one I think we're going to keep asking ourselves until then is, who are the Spurs going to draft? What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend, and if you've been invested in the NFL draft, hopefully things have turned out pretty well for your team. Maybe not too well if you're a fan of an NFC East team not named the New York Giants. Anyway, that being said, there's just so many rumors and this and that and the other going at the Spurs, and I caught this article, a little bit of an older one from Air Alamo from a couple weeks ago, but I thought, you know what? They go over a lot of the picks that have been linked to the Spurs, and I thought, let's talk about these players, some of the benefits they'll bring to the team, any player that sticks out that you're like, that's the guy no matter where we pick, I want that guy, or is there a guy here that you're like, if we take him wherever we pick, I will be very upset. Let me know in the comments down below. Hit the thumbs up, like, support the channel, subscribe to become part of our awesome Spurs and sports community. Let's get into the article, starting off with a name that has been linked to our San Antonio Spurs, Sheppard. Duke guard Reed Sheppard shot 52.1% from three on 4.4 attempts per game, a skill that would translate to the NBA. On defense, he proved to be a disruptive ball hawk who averaged a terrific 2.5 steals and just under 1 block per game. There are some concerns about whether he's a true starting point guard or more of a combo guard. However, that might not be as much of an issue with Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sohan making strides as playmakers this season for the Spurs. Here's what I'll say about Reed Sheppard. If the Spurs took him at 5 or 7, I'd be okay with it if we draft somewhere around there. If we drafted higher, maybe a little bit less. If, the big if Spurs fans, we were to get the Toronto Raptors pick and they end up drafting him at 7 or 8, then yes, I would certainly love that if he's available at that time. Do I see the Spurs taking Reed Sheppard? Probably not unless we have a second pick, but heck, I could be totally wrong. Been wrong before at the NBA draft. See Luka Samanic, see Joshua Primo, da-da-da-da-da. Up next, the Spurs fans, this will take... We're pretty much going to have to win the lottery for this one or get at least a second pick. I think he's going in top 2, and I'd love the Eiffel Towers if Sarr happens, but it's going to take a top 2 pick. But let's talk about Alexander Sarr. He is seen as having the biggest upside given his size, mobility, and skill. He projects himself to be a game-changing defensive player who can both protect the basket and also defend outside of the paint. Offensively, he appears to have the touch and range to be a three-point shooter, or at least a pick-and-pop big man from 18 feet. He could also be a vertical spacer who can roll to the basket and catch alley-oops, which give us 3 legit players that can finish an alley-oop at the rim. Sarr, Wemby, and Sohan. If Wembanyama becomes the efficient, high-volume shooter he looks like he can be, and Sarr can hit open threes, then the pairing could work, and they'd be a terror on both ends of the floor. That's a fact. The defensive end of the floor is where their size and length would be a nightmare to score against. There might be better fitting prospects and more pressing holes to fill, but Sarr may have the highest ceiling of any player in this draft. I mean, we're Spurs fans. The Twin Towers, David Robinson and Tim Duncan, to have a pairing that could be similar to that, maybe just as good, maybe better long-term, who the heck knows? That is certainly very intriguing, and let's not forget, both these players would be in their young prime points of their career. David was more on the back end of his career when the Twin Towers started, whereas this would be Wemby and Sarr at full force. So I would love this pick if it happened, but it's going to take a top 2 pick. We're going to need a lot of lottery luck for that to happen. Up to number 3, a player that a lot of you said you'd be very happy with, and I would be too, Zaccharie Risacher. Risacher is generally seen as the favorite to be selected first overall in this year's draft. Risacher's size at 6'8.5" without shoes, combined with his elite shooting, makes him an elite prospect. Throwing the word elite out there around there a lot, aren't they? He's shooting nearly 43% on threes. That makes him one of the best shooters in the draft. Risacher's size would be a nice fit on San Antonio's front line, with him as the sharpshooter, Sohan has a versatile 4, and Wemby as a superstar center. Sounds good so far, right? Risacher is considered to be a solid defender, potentially allowing the team to fill a need in the starting lineup while shoring up their defense too. San Antonio will need to have either the first or second pick to be able to draft him, but if they do, then he would make plenty of sense, and I agree. At worst, he's a top 3 pick. When the Spurs got him, despite his recent struggles he's had lately with shooting over, I think, like the last month, I'm all in on Zaccharie Risacher if we draft him. I would love that pick. Up next, the player I'm the least familiar about out of these 5, Matas Buzelis. He is seen as an option between 5 and 10, potentially putting him in play with the Raptors pick, okay? His size at 6'11 makes him an interesting as a potential front court piece for the Spurs, who already have Sohan and Wemby up front. Not only would he add more size at a position of need at small forward, but he'd also add shooting, rebounding, playmaking, and even rim protection. He does have a little bit of an attitude, by the way, a little, drive, arrogance, whatever you want to call it. He challenged Risacher to play one-on-one. It didn't happen, but okay, sure. Buzelis does potentially fit well with the Spurs, and they should consider him if they have a second lottery pick in this year's draft, given their need for an upgrade on the wing. So my take on him, I'd be fine if we drafted him with the Raptors pick. If we score that pick and it's like 7, 8, 9, whatever it may be, sure, whatever. With our own pick, if it was to be 3, 4, 5, not so much right now at the moment. I think I would pass. So let's get on to the last one, Spurs fans. Last but not least, this should be no surprise to any Spurs fan that's been following draft coverage over the last few months, Nikola Topic. The Spurs' clear flaw this season has been getting their best player, Victor Wembanyama, the ball in key possessions. As a result, the team has frequently been projected to select Nikola Topic with their pick in the 2024 NBA draft. I went through a bunch of mock drafts last week, and I think I saw at least 3 that had us taking Nikola where we drafted. He would provide an immediate boost at point guard, their weakest position. Ouch, Trey Jones, Blake Wesley, Devontae Graham. But let's be honest, that's definitely one of our weakest. But he may not start right away, especially if they make a trade for an established starter. And I would say not even getting a starter. If they were to draft a Topic, I got to think that Trey Jones would start next season, and they would ease Topic in the role, maybe start by the end of the season, or at least he's ready to start by year 2. Even still, adding a 19-year-old 6'6" point guard, which, by the way, he would be the tallest point guard on the team by far, with terrific court vision and impressive upside, could be a smart move for the Spurs long term. His size at his position and his knack for getting to the rim are intriguing and can make life easier on Wemby, getting him the ball in the right spots. Wemby getting high percentage looks would not only help the offense, but also draw more defensive attention and make things easier for the likes of Devin Vassell, who does take a lot of difficult and contested shots, so more open shots for Devin, definitely a good thing. Question marks regarding his defense, but the Spurs need a point guard and is possibly the best available one in this draft. As a result, San Antonio may very well select Topic on draft night. The knee injury concerns, I do have some of those. He had a knee injury this year, and I think he just came back yesterday or the day before, and if I remember correctly, he's not the best three-point shooter. That being said, if you're grappling with our picks in so many mock drafts and the NBA experts saying he's the guy that's going to, he's the guy, then I certainly would be good. And also many of you in our community seem to think he would be a good pick for us, so I'm going to trust the community in this case as well. There are, of course, big questions going into the draft. How many picks are we going to have? And right now that we don't know where the Spurs are going to draft. Right now they're projected to go at 5. That's probably not going to be the case. They're probably going to either move up or move down. And then there's other names out there that we haven't talked about they can look at. Dillingham, Castle, Klingon, Baby Coyote, Headband Grogu, me? Hey, I don't know. So many options. Maybe not all the best options there, especially at the tail end of that sentence, but still there's some options out there for our Spurs. So it's going to be an exciting time. I keep saying this at the end of every video, and I truly mean it. It's a great time to be a Spurs fan. We saw how good they can play when they're playing as a team at the end of the season. And with having a high draft pick again, maybe 2, and maybe a big trade happening, could be a very interesting offseason and an incredible start to what could be a great regular season next year. I'll say it before, I'll say it again. I expect nothing less than at least a play-in. I expect the team to make a big jump. That being said, hope you're having a wonderful weekend. That's all I got. Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, go Spurs, go.
To Wembley.